What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout Spot where you already know it's Real Talk Sports Talk. Live from my man cave, it's your boy Johnny, and I am here with...
It's your boy, the Maniac.
What's going on, my brother? Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Johnny, thank you, my brother. You know, it's always a pleasure to hang out on the Hangout Spot.
You family, brother. You always welcome. But, man, another stacked weekend of boxing, man. So let's get right into it, man. Let's recap because we had fights on Friday night from Nicaragua. We had the legend, Chocolatito Gonzalez, and he made his return in front of his hometown, obviously in grand fashion because there's no such thing as a boring fight with Chocolatito.
Absolutely.
And we'll get into that a little later. And then on Saturday night, ESPN had a card that was headlined by Raymond Muratalla, the young lightweight contender, taking on Tevin Farmer. That was a fight that was supposed to be the co-main event, but the Janik Beck Malakovic fight that was the main event ended up getting canceled because I believe Janik Beck was dehydrated, trying to make weight.
Correct.
And he had to be taken to the hospital the day prior, so they just moved the co-main event to the main event, and we'll get into that in a bit. But let's go right into the main course. Saturday night on the Zone in Philadelphia, the Wells Fargo Center, Four Corners. And you guys were live and direct in the building. Jaron Boots Ennis, Philly's own, fighting in front of his hometown against a tough guy, David Avanesyan, a guy who fought against Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
And Boots was coming in with some lofty expectations. Obviously, this was his first fight with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. People expected him to go in there and put on a show. Really good undercard as well. But before we get into his performance, how was the atmosphere in Philly?
Wow, man. Man, oh, man. That's it. In the words of myself, listen, man, you want to talk about rock star, you have it with Jaron Ennis. And Philly, he is a rock star. I mean, the place was electric, man. He put 14,000 into that arena. And I tell you right now, all 14,000 was yelling and screaming when he came in. Once that Undertaker music came in, Johnny,
that was insane. That was insane. On TV, it was insane. I could only imagine live the electricity.
Exactly. So just remember when the Undertaker, when you heard that as a fan of wrestling, yeah. So same thing with Boots, man. And on his way out, you just saw him smiling and he just embraced the moment, right? He was born for this. Some people, you know, some people are just born. He was just born to fight, right? He embodies everything in a superstar, man. You know, he's a well-spoken kid. That's one. He's a very humble. He's not on social media fighting people and you critiquing me and
good
he
point.
don't do that. He's your typical Philly fighter. I do my talking in the ring. So that atmosphere was just amazing. You know, the credential was good too with Shakur, but this one tops it. In fact, maybe this is, I would say this one tops the Xander versus Teixeira, and because it was probably a bigger arena, right? So that's why. But of all the fights I've been to, this fight, bar none, takes the cake for atmosphere when it comes to their fighter.
Which kind of brings us to the end result, right? Because everybody was there for one reason and one reason only. To see Boots put on a show. And that's exactly what he did. He did what Shakur failed to do in Newark in front of his fans because Boots took care of business. He took care of business. And, you know, as soon as the Avanesyan name was announced, you know, for Cody Crowley, that's what I expected. I expected nothing less than a knockout, and he actually delivered that. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Avanesyan did not come out for the 6th round. He actually quit on the stool. And like I said, in grand fashion, Boots wins this fight by knockout. He's now 31-0 with 28 KOs. And like you said, Maniac, he's a special fighter. and there really isn't a lot of weakness in his game. I mean, he let his hands go. He let his hands go. And what I don't get from some boxing fans, and I know we spoke about this off the record, is that they criticize Shakur for not letting his hands go because he didn't want to get hit. But there were some fans, believe it or not, the next day on social media that were kind of criticizing Boots a little bit because he got hit a little bit because he let his hands go. So, Maniac, talk to me. What's going on with the fans? Like, which one is it? Which one is it? You want a fighter not to get hit, or you want a fighter to go for it, let his hands go, and in the process, you're going to get hit? That's the name of the game. So which one is it, Maniac? Talk to me, man. Because
when it comes to these fights, everything is preference, right? And then, unfortunately, everything is about comparing to their fighter. So, right, let's say Shakur. Oh, y'all talk about Shakur, but he don't get hit like that. Bro, you just can't win. Somebody's going to complain about something, right? So, but I'll tell you this, right? And like I said, Shakur, to me, is a phenomenal fighter. And, we spoke about it. Well, the video, we didn't get to record it. But regardless, I still hold Shakur to a high standard. I mean, a high regard, excuse me. But Boots, his style of fighting will sell tickets. His style of fighting will say, I want to see him again. His style of fighting will get him big fights. So he has the recipe. Whether people want to complain or not, Johnny, he has the recipe. So Boots and his team don't need to care about the outside noise. Boots is a technical brawler. He comes forward. He's going to ambush you. He's going to throw beautiful combinations. He's going to change levels. He's going to come up top. He's going to come bottom. He's going to change speeds. He's going to go a little slow, bam, bam, then he's going to come, bam, 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 bam. So he's doing it all in there. He's doing it all. And like you mentioned, when you in the fire, when you inside, when you playing of all four, tops of the stove is on and the oven is on, and you there, you're gonna get burned. It's okay. So Boots is gonna get hit based on his style of fighting, and that's fine. Because look at the damage he inflicted on Avanesyan. He beat him like a stepchild, man. You saw his cheek was swollen. He had bruised ribs. Boots put an ass whooping on him. He broke him down methodically.
Mm-hmm.
From round 1 to the end of the 5th round, he said, stop playing with me. I ain't going back out there. I'm good. I live to see another day.
Let me tell you something. I like that technical brawler because he can do it all in the ring, but he has dog in him. Like, he wants to finish people off. And that's only going to intensify as the fights get bigger. One thing I did like, another thing that I do like about Boots, and you said he's a very humble kid, is that he said himself, he was critical of his performance. He said it wasn't his best performance. And I'm sitting there like, dude, if that wasn't your best performance, I could only imagine when you're out there at your best. You know what I mean? He's a special fighter, and right now, I don't think that there's any doubt he's the best welterweight in the world. He is the current IBF welterweight champion. People could sit there and say he's an email champion or not. It really doesn't matter to me because he would have won that belt. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of options for Boots, especially now with Matchroom, and I think that's the most interesting thing. He took care of business Saturday, but now what's next? Personally, Maniac, and again, this is I'm saying this if he can make the weight with no problem, because there were some people that were saying before the fight that he may be too big for welterweight, that he may not be a welterweight for too long. He's a big kid.
Yeah.
He's a big kid, right?
Yes.
So if he can make welterweight at least a couple more fights, I don't see how he doesn't go out there and try to unify the belts, because he's the best welterweight. And no disrespect to some of the other guys. Who you got? You got Barrios, who's the WBC champion, right?
Yeah, he got elevated. You got Brian Norman, I believe he got elevated. and then Stanionis.
Stanionis. And all three are very good fighters, but I just think Boots is on another level right now as far as skill. But what do you think? Because again, the thing that's going to be mentioned the most is going to be him and Bud Crawford. That's a fight that everybody wants to see. That's a fight that he has said in the past that he has wanted, even before Terrence and Errol Spence fought each other. So what do you think is next, Maniac?
So it's good. There's a lot of options there, right? So also with the fighters you just mentioned, the three, right? The Barrios, the Stanionis, the Brian Norman. We also have a Blair Cobbs, right? If I'm not, I believe he's originally from Philly. He lives out on the West Coast. I believe it's Vegas or Cali. And he could sell a fight. He could punch, and he has this. So I think that'd be a good scrap, right? Again, just throwing it out there, just putting it in the pot along with, all the other stuff we throwing in there. But I think the biggest fight for Boots at 147 is a non-champion, and he goes by the name of Conor Ben, right? And he's a matchroom fighter. So this is a easy fight to make, right? Now, buy it whether you made Jaron Ennis go across the pond, or you have Conor Ben come here to the Wells Fargo. He's bringing 3,000 with him. UK loyal fans, they travel. Trust me, I've been in arenas with them, and I'm like, damn, all these people travel to see him. And Conor's undefeated. He's young. He's in his prime. Same thing with Boots. That is a mega fight for me. UK versus an American. It sells pay-per-view. I'm not going to say it does phenomenal numbers, but it will do good numbers if you can also put a nice undercard on there. But I don't know if that's the direction Eddie and Team Boots are going to go. Me personally, the fight that I would like to see is a unification with Mario Barrios, Johnny. And I tell you why. Barrios for two reasons. Barrios once has the best jab at the welterweight division. He can box. So he's going to give Boots a lot of problems with that jab. I think Boots still smoke him, but I just think that he's going to have to find Barrios, and it's going to take some time. And two, Barrios is the most experienced fighter at 147. He's been in there with the likes of Tank. He's been in there with Keith Thurman. Now, both losses, he got stopped at 140. And he fought a tough fight with Keith. He went the distance. So Barrios, he's a veteran, a KG veteran. He's tough. He could fight. And only's been stopped once, right? So, and that wasn't at welterweight. That was at 140. So I think that of all the fighters at 147, Barrios gives him, to me, the most problems based on styles. And I think they might go after I think a Stanionis fight. To me, it's the easiest, right? People will be like, whoa, easiest. He's tough. He's not going to fight Brian Norman. Norman's a top-ranked fighter. So that's not going to happen now. It's either going to be Stanionis, PBC, or it's going to be Barrios. Or who was the original opponent, Johnny?
Oh, right. Cody Crowley.
He might give him a shot. So Boots has options. He has options at 147. Like you mentioned, I don't even think for any quite reason that we think anybody else besides Boots is the best. He's the best at 147. Some of these fighters will give him a tough fight, but they're getting cooked. I see maybe Boots at 147 another year. I think by this time next year, he's on his way to 154. But maybe two more fights at 147, then I could definitely see him a junior middleweight in huge fights.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That was going to be my next question. How long does he stay at welterweight if he does? And I agree. I think his time is pressed. That's why you got to go for it. And you got to you got to put your foot in the gas now. I like all those fights, man. I do. I mean, I'm with you. I think Barrios would be a hell of a fight for unification. I agree. I don't think Brian Norman is a name that they're going to float out there. I think you're right. He is with Top Rank, but I don't know if they want Brian Norman to face that type of smoke yet. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. The Conor Ben fight is probably the easiest to make. You're absolutely right. They're both under the same banner. I mean, Conor Ben has been screaming for a big fight for a couple years. Put him against the best fighter in the division and let's see what he got. Right. But I'm afraid, Maniac. I'm afraid that instead of Stanionis, they go with a name like Rocha or Santillion or something like that, man. I don't know. I'm just afraid, man. And I'm not saying those guys ain't tough, but we're talking about next level here. You know what I mean? Like we can't, we got to start putting the sharks with the sharks here to swim in the same ocean, man. Not the sharks with the bluefish. I mean, it just doesn't work, man. It doesn't work. Now, let's say he scraps 147. I'm going to 154 because I'm chasing Terrence. Do you think right now, if Terrence Crawford wins his next fight on the 3rd against Majimov, number one, is that a makeable fight? And number two, what do you see happening in that fight? Because still a lot of people on social media after that performance have said, no way Boots is ready for Crawford.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Yesterday, me in the dream, and he brought a friend on, E-friend, and we cut something, and that was one of the questions, right? Who would you favor in the fight right now between Crawford and Boots? Well, for one, let's put it like this. At 154, I think Boots would be stronger at 154, which is just a scary thing to hear, right? Based on the way of his style of fighting. And now Crawford and Boots have a very similar style, right? They're very similar. The only thing is Bud, he's a little more fluid on his feet, he more of in and out, but Bud is a stubborn fighter. And I say that, and people were like, what do you mean stubborn? So stubborn is that you could win a fight a certain way without putting yourself in danger, but you have to show you're stubborn, no. Or he's a dog, because they are two dogs. This is Pitbull versus Pitbull, Johnny.
Absolutely.
Let's be clear. The leashes are coming off. So I think regardless, this fight is not going to come down to skill. It's not going to come down to who's the harder puncher. It's going to come down to who has the dog in them. Who's the biggest dog? And I tell you right now, the only reason I'm going to slightly go with Bud because of experience, right? Experience matters. But listen, if you're going to tell me in my face and say, there's no way Boots beats Crawford, I'm going to say, then you're wrong. Because if you don't think there's no way but Boots can beat Crawford, then you're not watching boxing, bro. Because he has a great chance of winning that fight based on styles, bro. It's like almost a mirroring each other. And then this is a younger Boots. Boots is, he got the youth. And I think he's a stronger fighter. And that's hard to say because, Bud is strong, but I think Boots is the harder puncher, excuse me. Right? And I just think Crawford is the stronger puncher. I just think that as the fight goes on, Bud, his power carries. Bud will get you out of there in the 11th. I don't know about that with Boots yet, right? He hasn't really had to go that far to try to get someone out. And the last fighter they did was Kukajan, and he was on his bike the whole fight. And, so we couldn't really see. So that's why I would slightly go Crawford, Johnny, in that fight. If it was to happen next, right? But if they let Bud fight a fight or two at 54, put more chinks in that armor, it could be better. But this is boxing. If he doesn't look good against Madrimov, those same people, there's no way he could be. But here they come out the bushes. You know the Homer Simpson meme when they come out the bush. Yo,
Absolutely.
Boots will knock him out right now. And he just did. These are the fans, man. These are the boxing fans.
Like they say in the mob, you're only good as your last envelope, man. Yeah, man. It's very, very hard for me to favor anyone to beat Bud Crawford until someone gets relatively close to doing it. Now, I will tell you, he's getting up there in age, right? I believe he's pushing 36 now. He's fighting his first fight at 54 against a solid 54. I think he should win, but we'll see how he looks. We'll see how he looks. But even if that fight is made, I know we've had talk about this in the past. Do you think it sells Bud against Boots?
Wow, that's a great question, right? I mean, it should, right? Because this is one of the fights we asked for. But unfortunately, sometimes these kind of fights don't get the promotion it needs, or it doesn't do the numbers we expect, right? Unfortunately, we're living in an era now, Johnny, where it's the easiest of ever to get the fight for free on
Right.
pay-per-view. So you're gonna tell somebody, yo, you're gonna pay 90. Here's this link, brother. Oh, I could watch this for free? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on that. You're gonna go with the free. So and another thing, and again, these are just the facts. These are two African American fighters, right? One of the biggest sellers are the Latinos, specifically the Mexicans, right? They're the biggest fan in boxing here in North America. You get rid of the Mexican fan base, man, North American boxing be in bad shape.
Mm.
So So again, to answer the question, Boots and Crawford, I think it does about 300, 350, maybe 4. It won't do 5. The only way if they put a super undercard, if this is a Turkey a la Sheik card where he puts Bud versus Boots, and then he puts, a Tank in there, and then he put, which we know that won't happen, but you get my drift.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be one of those major cards that Turkey a la Sheik does, and then maybe we could talk about maybe 500K. But just off the bat, off their names alone, I'm gonna go 300K to 350.
It's fair, which is sad, right? Because again, two of the biggest names in boxing, but from a fandom perspective, there, believe it or not, there's still a lot of people that really like casuals don't really know about Boots like that.
100% correct.
Which is crazy to me. Because if you screen entertainment, watch this dude, man. Do yourself a favor and watch this dude, man. I think him and Crawford would be absolutely a sensational fight. To your point, Turkey a la Sheik did reach out to him after his fight on FaceTime. Eddie Hearn had his phone. So I think he started trying to lobby for that. Obviously, Crawford has to do his part in LA in a couple weeks. But man, if they could put that together with the same type of card that they're going to put together in LA, absolutely insane. Let's pivot. Let's pivot here. I didn't really didn't want to touch on the undercard too much. I mean, Jaleel Hackett, Peter Dobson. We were both looking forward to that fight. You had Dobson going into that. I kind of didn't know what to expect, so I went with the young guy. And he put some good work in. Pete Dobson obviously is a tough guy. He kind of came on a little bit towards the end. But Jaleel Hackett is a guy that I think has a bright future. He just got to continue to put in that work. I mean, what do you think about Jaleel?
Yeah, man. I might have watched him once, and I wasn't really looking too into the fight. But this, I was there up close, man. He an athletic fighter, man. He got good twitch muscles. He got fast hands. He's still learning on the job. He just got a few fights in, doesn't have a lot. I think his future is bright if he continues to progress, right? And doesn't get caught up in that I'm the man, and just stay humble, youngin. Get off that Twitter, get off that Instagram, win fights in the ring. don't win. You don't win them on social media. So if he could just stay focused and continue to get better, man, Jalil's a name we're gonna be speaking about down the line.
Absolutely. And I agree with the whole Twitter piece. He's a young guy and they fall into that trap very, very, very easy in this day and age. And then last but not least for this card, I want to give shout out to the females. Sky Nicholson, man. She did her thing, man. I mean, she can box. She ain't got no power. She might be the female version of Shakur, though. I mean, she can stick that jab out there. And if you make a mistake, she's going to make you pay. I mean, that was pretty much a one-sided fight against Diana Vargas. I thought it was going to be a lot closer. Vargas was frustrated trying to chase her around. She just, I mean, like I said, she just stuck that jab in her face all day. How was the atmosphere for that fight? Were people buzzing?
So when it first started, actually in my section there was a couple of Dominicans there. They had the little banderas, they were repping in this fight. I expected this fight to be way closer than what it was. It was decent. The crowd was still filling in. Remember, that was just the second fight of the main card.
Okay.
Majority of these people just came to see one fight. So us, we there to see it all.
Yep.
Right? But it was cool. We were in tune, and then one thing, man, I love women's boxing. I became a huge fan within the last 2 years, man. So Sky Nicholson, she's definitely one of the tough fighter, man. She's a champion. She could box her ass off, like you said. She ain't got no pop. She the female Paulie Malignaggi. But listen, that's besides the point. She took care of business. She was in there with a rugged fighter who was aggressive, who tried to come forward, try to ambush style, but she just couldn't get around that jab, man. Once you master that jab, male or female, you're gonna be hard to beat in the sport. And Scott Nichols, she showed that.
Absolutely. But anyhow, great card all around. Let's pivot to ESPN. The main event was Raymond Muratalla, who, like I said earlier, is a young lightweight contender. Now he's 21-0 with 16 knockouts. He went up against a tough veteran, slick boxer, defense, Tevin Farmer. Let me start by saying this, Maniac. I don't I don't know what to think of Raymond Muratalla right now. Because 4 fights ago, I was super, super high on him. The last couple of fights, man, I mean, it could be you could make a case that 2 fights ago, his fight before this fight, he fought against a guy who was very, very awkward, a mover. He looked uncomfortable in the ring, but he did enough to pull out the victory. So I give him the benefit of the doubt. And I know Tevin Farmer's a former champion. Like I said, a guy with tons of experience. He can box, he can move. But when you're a young, up-and-coming lightweight, a highly touted lightweight, these are the guys that you should be looking a lot better against. And like I said, he wins this fight by unanimous decision, but there were a lot of people that were kind of shaky about that decision. Personally, I thought it was closer to a draw.
Yeah.
But that's, again, I mean, I would have to see the fight again. I really didn't want to see it again, to be honest with you. But what do you think about Raymond now? I mean, what's your thoughts on Raymond?
Oh, listen, man. I just like you, I was very high on Muratalla. I'm like, damn, this guy's a problem at 135. He's trouble. He's trouble. But again, this is why you see the difference between someone like Abdullah Mason at 135, where all he constantly shows is great performance. Now, by it, Tevin Farmer is a rugged veteran. He knows how to win. He came in this fight, 3-fight win streak. The guy's a winner. But I scored this fight. I was judging it. I said, let me judge it. Because when you told me, I said, let me judge it. And you know what? One judge I'm like, oh, shit. I had it 97-92, right? So that was 7-3, right? The reason is 92 instead of 93 because they deducted the point from Tevin Farmer, right? And when I saw it, just looking at it right? First, Farmer was outboxing him. He was in there. He was, mid-range, bang, going to the body, boom. Muratalla looking flustered. I'm like, damn. I'm like, oh yeah, this look like this. If they gave this fight to Muratalla, based what I saw, the first 2 rounds was fun.
It was a tale of two halves, right? The first few rounds,
And
it
then
looked
the
like
third, he just started to pick it up enough, not pick it up where we like, oh okay, it's just like, all right. And then in between, there might have been 2 rounds in there that it was like, this could go either way. But that's how I scored it. It wasn't. I think Muratalla is more of an identity crisis, right? Like he was first deemed as a puncher, right? Because he has such a high knockout rate. Now in his last 2 fights, is like, is he looking for the knockout? Is he trying to box? What is it he trying to really do in there, right? I didn't. I see like kind of a fighter that is conflicted with himself, right? But still getting the job done nonetheless, right? So to me, he got it done. How I feel about, definitely not the way I felt about him 3 fights ago. But let's see. Maybe he needs a Keyshawn in there to really get it out of him and like, yo, no, I got to do this because Keyshawn called him out, because Muratalla called him out. So again, these are 2 top-ranked fighters, Johnny. Like we mentioned about Conor Ben and Boots. This is easy food. This is an easy Uber Eats order, bro. This gets done quick. So if both fighters want it, I see no reason why it don't happen. But Muratalla, man, is back to the drawing board, and he really needs to look at himself in the mirror and say, yo, bro, what is it that I want to be? I want to be a boxer. I want to be a puncher, or do I want to be a boxer puncher? But he has to do more in there, and we'll see, man. We'll see why he, who he fights next.
yeah, and that's what I was getting at in the beginning. Like I don't know what to think about him because early in his career, like I say, he's a big guy, a strong guy. I thought he was going to be more of a puncher, but the last couple of fights, right, he's more a little bit more timid. Could that be the competition? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the fight before this one, I thought he'd be able to wash that guy fairly easy. And he was satisfied with going to the scorecards, whatnot. And then this one, like I said, I mean, I saw it a little closer because I saw this fight as a tale of 2 halves. I thought Farmer did better work in the first half, definitely Muratalla in the second half. So I guess I was looking at it that way. But like I said, I did not rewatch it. And I don't know if I will. I'll take your word for it. But at the end of the day, listen, he's still young. He's got a great trainer, but he's got to figure it out who he wants to be. And now, he's talking about ready for a title shot, against Baranchek. I think you're right. I think he should take the Keyshawn fight. I don't know about that fight, man.
That's why I want to see it.
Yeah.
Now he can't. He not getting no. I wouldn't want to see him against no Baranchek. He's gonna lose, man. Baranchek is gonna put a clinic on him.
But you know what's crazy? Before the fight, when he was interviewed, he said that Kriegel asked him about the possibility of Keyshawn Davis, and he said that he thought that would be taking a step backwards because he's ready for a title shot. So I don't know. Maybe Top Rank is feeding that to him. All you got to do, kid, is go out there and win, and we'll get you a title shot next, regardless. He needs work. And then last but not least, I wanted to touch on Chocolatito Gonzalez, man, because talk about being entertained, man. I mean, there was a time, Maniac, when this dude was sitting up there, either 1, 2, or 3 in the pound for pound rankings, and that was probably around the time either Floyd was on his way out or it was around that time. He was entertaining then, and he's still entertaining now. And I mean, in front of his home crowd, he didn't disappoint. That was an action-packed fight against a guy named Robert Barrera. He stops him in the last round, if I'm not mistaken, by TKO, but he was breaking this guy down for rounds. It was almost like, when is this guy going to go? When is this guy going to go? And Chocolatito, even at his age, didn't take the foot off the gas. He continued to go out there and impress his people, man. What do you think about Choco? And more importantly, we know he's getting up there in age, man. What do you think could be next?
Listen, let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. First of all, I'm going to make this very clear to the viewers. if you claim to be a hardcore boxing fan and don't know who Chocolatito is, you're a hardcore casual, my man.
Preach. Preach.
Listen, it is what it is. Now, if you're willing to learn, like, you know what? Who he is, let me look. I respect it. But don't come in here anywhere I see you or in any no boxing. Yo, you saw Chocolatito fight who? Then conversation is over. Johnny, this guy epitomizes skill, epitomizes toughness, epitomizes world class. The guy has it all. He's 37 years old. He's a four-time world division champion, future Hall of Famer. Of his 4 losses, only one was definitive. He got stopped because he kept daring to be great. He kept moving up, right? He fought a young, tough Colombian fighter. Now, there's one thing about Colombians that we know, and I'm not talking about cocaine. I'm talking about they could punch. They could punch.
They usually pack a mean punch, you're right.
And this dude was much bigger than Gonzalez. I'm like, damn, this dude like a featherweight in there. And from round 1, Johnny, to round 10, Chocolatito never took his foot off the gas. So for him to still fight at that age, at that pace, against these young, tough fighters, I'm not gonna say Robert, he was anything great, but he was still tough. And Chocolatito showed, listen, man, I could do it with the best of them. But now, with that being said, I would like for him, Johnny, to call it a day. And I'm going to tell you why. Because at 118, you got my man, Junto Nakatani, who actually fights this coming Saturday.
That's right. That's right.
I don't want to see that. Right? Not saying Chocolatito won't be competitive. Shit, he might even could pull it off. But it just you can't escape Father Time. And Junto right now is just a different animal. He is tall. He's a southpaw. He's an assassin, and he could punch. And he's just a style right now at this in Chocolatito's age. He's a style matchup, not only for Chocolatito, for any fighter down there. So I wouldn't want to see him. I would like for him to retire. Honestly, what is it really to prove that Chocolatito got left to prove? There's nothing. He's done it all. He's one of the most skilled fighters of all time. F just the smaller weight classes. He could do anything your favorite fighter could do. And that was coming off a 1.5 year layoff, Johnny.
Almost 2 years, right? You're right.
Almost 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, bro, the dude has 42 NyQuils, 52 wins, 42 NyQuils. And my man, with that many NyQuils, he could make his own pharmacy. Like that, he can make his own pharmacy, man. The guy has more knockouts than your favorite fighter has wins. Let that sink in.
Wow. Don't know what to say. I mean, he's up. He's a legend.
Oh.
He's a legend. There's nothing more to prove. Nakatani would be, wow, if he was to take that fight at this age and somehow even pull that off. I mean, you got to start talking about him as one of the best fighters of all time. I mean, there's a part of me that never wants to see him go away because he's so damn entertaining. He always comes to fight. So I don't want to see him go away, but I also don't want to see him fight one fight too much. I don't think he deserves to go out like that. But if he did choose to retire on this performance in front of his home crowd, I mean, it's almost like, hitting a game-winning home run. And then once you cross the plate, you retire, you call it a career. I think that's what he should do as well. But man, if we see him again, I'm not gonna complain, Maniac.
We not. I mean, neither would I. Neither would I.
Anyhow, as always, my brother, had a pleasure chopping it up with you. If you're new to watching my videos, make sure you please subscribe. This is how we do it up here at the Hangout Spot. We can find the Maniac on all platforms, right? THEE_ Boxing Maniac. But as always, my brother, appreciate you coming on, spending some time with me. And for all my people, like I said, I appreciate your support. As always, this is your boy Johnny signing out with the Maniac from the Hangout Spot, and I'll talk to everybody soon.